Welcome, guys. Monday night BFREE Zoom call. It is so exciting to have you all on with an extremely super special guest who we've got dialing in from Queensland tonight. So a little bit behind the mastermind that we have on tonight, who is speaking to us specifically around ISA Derby. So get your pens and papers ready, but some specific ISA Derby related accolades for this particular person and his beautiful wife. 7 out of 7 ISA Derbies they have won, and they've been the number one winning team in 4 of those. And we might
Linda, can you mute, please?
Thank you, Linda. You're the best. Out of those 7, they have won 2 indulgences with the 2 times that was actually run. And they've been the top 10 individuals for Derby as well. Places that they have been: San Diego, Cambodia. She's still going.
Linda.
Thank you, Linda. Linda has this really special ability to unmute all the time, just in case.
I think she does it with her mind. I don't even know how it's possible.
Hawaii, Las Vegas twice, Borneo, and yeah, they have had so much success winning ISA Derbies that they've just run an extremely successful, like an ISA Derby themselves, within their own team. So we would love to welcome Al. Usually that's me in the background, Lari. So great to have you guys on. So welcome, guys.
Thanks, guys. Absolute pleasure to be on the call and share whatever we can share and help you guys take away whatever you take away from it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so great to have you guys on.
Kids all fed. You celebrate everything too. It's awesome. I'm celebrating the fact that I washed my hair today.
Yes, that is worth celebrating.
That's awesome, guys.
Yeah, so good.
I haven't washed mine in about a year, so yeah, well, there's no celebration with that.
Well done.
No, guys, it's so awesome to have you on. Thank you so much again. And obviously, with the excitement of an ISA Derby about to be dropped or launched, as we know, leading up to a celebration, that's always the case. So what better people than to have on than you guys, who we have actually had the blessing of spending an ISA Derby with at Las Vegas and Borneo as well. So look, we're going to get cracking straight into it, guys. So feel free to jump in where possible. I've got a few questions that have been brought together by the team and a lot of the people on tonight. So we'll get stuck straight into it. But don't hold back. We just wanted to give you free reign. Like any of these questions, just give it how it is.
Cool. Real
and raw. Just go for it. And it'd be really amazing to hear that from you guys. So first up, like I said, we've got this exciting period coming up with the ISA Derby about to be launched for 2018. What do you do to qualify people for your ISA Derby team?
Do you want me to start? Do you want to start?
I'll go first because he always finishes everything off. But we typically, right now, we've had the conversation. Obviously, like you guys have, you know that the ISA Derby is coming up. So we've had the conversation with people whether they're wanting to do an ISA Derby or what they're wanting to do, what's their goals right now. And basically we're saying, well, you need to be in action even before we get going. So because once they do it, it always tends to be backdated. So going past history, I don't know if that's going to be the same this year. So the enrollments right now are going to count because they're your people that are going to be becoming your consultants, becoming your, rank advancing and enrolling people. And they're, that's your starting blocks basically. So the more conversations you're having leading into an ISA Derby too, of course, they're going to be your people that are enrolling as well. So it's the people that are already in action. So the people that we can see adding lots of value to our cleanse pages. I'm presuming you guys have got a cleanse page. People that are adding lots of people to the cleanse pages and making it relevant to them. People that are on 3-way calls. People that are throwing launch parties. That are doing all the things that ultimately build our business. And so they need to be doing that prior and during the ISA Derby. And really, Like we don't put in our teams until the very last minute. So if we've got an idea of, and we can tell someone we'd love to have you on the team, but if you can't meet the minimum, like on the average, we'd need about this amount of, and we mathematically, Alan figures it out normally. You know, each week we need to have a minimum of this amount of points to be on track to win the ISA Derby. So previously, obviously the structure this year is going to be different, as Mac already announced down in Melbourne. But, you know, once we know the structure, we can pretty much, based on history, because history repeats itself, we can know, you know, how many points we need to be there to be able to create that. I mean, Alan can probably explain that better, so I'll leave it with him.
Oh, was that a handover? I think Lari summed it up. The biggest thing, more than anything, is around the conversation. And that's, to us, all 7 ISA Derbies that we've won before the ISA Derby's even been announced. And that's been around the conversation, that I believe anyway, and that's been around the conversation that we've had with the people, where we've been really open and honest. And we've said to them, and we explain to them in a way where they feel secure and it doesn't cause an issue if they're not getting the points. So let's say, for an example, we had 6 of you guys that were about to be, or 5 of you guys are about to be in our team for ISA Derby, or who we viewed as the most highly potential people in our business that are not part of another person's team that we want to have together. Every single one of you would be a one-on-one conversation saying that, hey, we're expecting ISA Derby to start. Here's the things, here's our expectations, which is usually around the fact of they're already having conversations, they're in action, that they actually are fully committed. We'll ask them what's their goals? And if somebody says to us, look, in the next 90 days, I want to enroll, 8 people and go manager, then we're straight up with them and say, you know what, the reality is that's probably not going to be part of a winning ISA Derby team. So either you need to change your goal and be willing to put in more hours and more time, or we'll put you into a team where other people have the same goal, where you may not win, but you'll be, you'll have some great accountability. You'll learn a lot along the way, and now may not be your time. So we're really open and honest with them from the start. And the biggest reason is that in the very first couple of ISA Derbies, we realized that we were painting this vision for people that couldn't hit the vision for ISA Derby. There's 10 teams in Australia, which is not, you know what, yes, it's great, but in the whole scheme of it, that's not a lot of teams in the amount of associates that there are. And to win an ISA Derby, you need 6 people that are going all in on Isogenics. If you have 4 people going all in, you're just not going to win it these days. If you've got 6 people that are half-hearted, you're not going to win it these days. You need 6 people going all in. So our conversation is real. And the second thing we do is we tell them that exactly what Lari said. We work out what the points are going to be, and we say, look, when registration's about to close, 2 days before that, if you haven't hit a number that we're going to give you guys, then the reality is that we're going to have to find somebody who has that. And there's always somebody or 2 people that emerge out of nowhere, and we'll have to replace you. And the reason we do that is to protect you and to protect the team. And then we kind of put it back to them to create a vision around and say, hey, look, let's say, for an example, the cutoff's 30 points and you're on 50. Like, I'm sure you wouldn't be too happy if we had 2 other people in the team that were on 5 and 10, and they're taking away your opportunity to get there. And the reality is, if you're only on 10 points when you need to be on 30,
what's going to change?
What's going to change? If you're only on 10 after 4 weeks, why would you expect that you're going to hit, in the past, 80 points or 100 points by week 10? So we kind of really paint that vision.
The other thing we do too, I mean, those truth with compassion talks, it goes really deep in our business as well. So we have some people who, for example, were exec, but they're not really fighting hard in Isogenics right now, but they might have one person below them that's an absolute superstar, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to join a team with them. Well, they've got 2 people and that's it. And they're searching around for people and they can't really find them. And we say, we'll have a truth with compassion conversation with that person and say,
with the exec, that is, yeah.
Yeah, in all honesty, you're better off giving up your person, because ultimately you want to build your business. You don't want to build, you want to think long-term here. It's a trip, it's a trip to Las Vegas, and, you want to build long-term over, the one-off trip, in which case you'd be better off putting the people, in a team that we know is going to qualify and is going to win, or we've got a better opportunity of winning. So, and it's going to be
a great example of how that played out last ISA Derby was we had 3 teams qualify for last ISA Derby, and two of those teams had two people in that situation, and one of those teams had one person in that situation, where realistically they probably would have been in a different uplines team, even though they're all financially linked to Lari and I. However, we had that conversation about how that's going to generate that person's business and grow that person's business. So, yeah, they're the kind of conversations that we have, and we hold them. And
it's not easy conversations at all, you know, but we don't do things for the sake of it. So we're looking after their businesses ultimately, not after a one-shot, you know, thing, which is actually, you don't mind if I say, it's actually this time we personally are not going to be running for ISA Derby. We might just put ourselves in our own team just for fun, with maybe another exec that's put their people in teams, but we'd just be coaching the teams through, because we've got some executives that right now are wanting to run.
And we're kind of sacrificing it in the sense that we've got 4 or 5 execs that are on fire, but they don't have team. So they don't have a team that they can put Derby in. But
we have every intention of making the same points. Don't get me wrong, because I've heard of people stepping back and not actually doing the do, and you've got to do both.
But we've also put them on notice to say, with those execs that don't have a team right now, that we're going to put them into a team together that we're going to coach through. But we've also put them on notice and said to every one of them, if they're not on the points, then none of them will be in the team. We'll just take the spot. So that's kind of where we're at in our headspace for our own business and our own team. Our goal is to beat everybody and win an individual spot anyway. So it's kind of irrelevant as well. So that's where I think the biggest, I wouldn't say mistake, but I think the biggest learning is in Derby for leaders is actually having those conversations before, because the conversation after becomes so much easier when you hit 2 days to go and then you're like, man, Mary's on 5 points and like she told me she was all in and I committed into it. I don't know how to have this conversation.
Yeah.
It's easy because you're going back and saying, look, you know what? The reality is, boom, we had this conversation before, and they're in the same mindset, because usually they're in the same mindset from that conversation going, I don't want the pressure of being in this team because I'm about to let this team down.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the crux of how we set up our teams to make sure that everyone's firing. We work collaboratively to make sure that the teams are all got the best people possible in them as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. I love how you guys share together, and you know it so well. You know it inside and out, and it's so true. It's about having those real conversations now. So it's just perfect timing for us to all be hearing this from you. And I loved how you clarified with that, from the point that it launches to the point that the teams are locked down, that's pivotal as well, because that's where you look at the points. Let's say, for argument's sake, like you said, if it's like past times, if 80 is the qualifying points, then you break it down and you go, right, you need to be making at least that in these couple of weeks, so that can keep repeating as an average over the whole period of time. So I think that that's a really key point that you've made there.
The other point that I probably want to make there too, Ria, is that only once ever have we had one person not qualify within our team. So every single time, every single person's qualifying.
Yeah.
And it was only once that we haven't had one person qualify. And so, I mean, that's
and they
the
hit
key,
like
right?
they hit like 55 points out of 80 or something like that. So
and then actually the follow-up conversation and where he's in his business right now is consistently building right now. So it was a great outcome overall. But there is, we're probably jumping ahead on the questions, but there is that burn and churn in you don't want to burn anybody out. You've got to meet people where they're at and where they want to be, and make sure that it's something that's going to, when you're picking your people in your team, is it something that's going to help them? Because some people just don't work well under pressure, and some people work extremely well under pressure. So you really do have to consider that as well in your conversations.
It's a great one for Reds. It's a fantastic, for you guys that have done University in Action with David Wood, Reds are fantastic. Have a team of Reds. And if you've got a team of Blues, then you'll get emotionally tied up into it and start crying when you drop to 10th on the ladder and stuff like that. Yeah. Yellow's already celebrating that they're there, so they forget about doing the work.
Yeah.
The
whites just believe
meditating.
They just believe they're going to be there anyway.
Meditate, Lari. No, I know you've got a lot of red in you too. That's awesome. That's amazing. And actually, do you know what? I'm even going to jump around myself a little bit just with the questions and how it's flowing, because you mentioned then about getting or everyone you've ever had in your team, so 7 times over, without like minus one person, has always qualified. So I'm sure another burning question for everybody on this call is, how do you ensure that? Like, yes, you're talking about colors, and yes, you're talking about ensuring that their goals are aligned with, you know, where the whole team is moving, so that there's no pressure, so that they're not just moving out of a place that's not going to work for them. How does that happen? How do you have nearly a 100% strike rate of people qualifying?
Actually, I just remembered I lied because there was one other in the very first one.
98%.
What was his name?
John West.
John West. We never heard from him the entire Derby. So, but we didn't choose the team.
Okay. We'll let John West slide then.
one when we've led a team. The biggest thing is, well, obviously, firstly, is making sure they've hit their first point, so they're not under pressure.
Okay.
They're ahead of the game already. That's the first thing. So if they're on target, you generally know, well, 2 things will happen. One is that if everyone's hit their qualification points that we've set, then generally when the first ladder appears, you're in the top 10 or the top 20 or however they put it out there. People are on target to hit their individual points. And the belief that then grows is kind of like a snowball. 1, they already know they're on target for their personal points. 2, they then see it as a reality that, wow, we're actually in the top 10 or the top 20 or however they break it down. Shivers, this is real. And it starts being like, wow, okay, I can really make this happen, and they work harder. So generally, if they've already passed their quota they needed and then they start working harder, it's just a natural progression that they're going to get there. So the other one really is that I think the belief that we pour into them at the start of painting that they're actually going to be there. We don't even talk about them not being there. Like when we have that conversation, because we are all in on it and we know that we're going to do whatever it takes to get that team there, then the conversation prior as well is always about like, how much do you want to be in Nashville? Like, seriously, do you want to be there? Because if they're kind of like, yeah, it'd be good, or I'm not sure if timing would work, or these kind of responses, then instantly we're like, they're not going to get there. If it comes down and they've got 20 points to go with a week and a half to go, they're not going to get there because they don't have the desire to be there. So not only are we looking for the people that are in action, but we're looking for the people that are like, hell yeah, I haven't been on a holiday for this long, or man, it'd mean so much to me in my business if I got there, and those kind of responses. So it's kind of a combination of all of them, and it just aligns. They just don't miss. Once you're away and you're running and they've passed that registration point and you know they've got the fire in their belly. The other thing is they get the belief because the other 5 people are past the points. So it's not, we see a lot of teams that even within our organisation that have 3 people that are gunning it and 3 people that are doing nothing, and the 3 people gunning it just lose their commitment. They lose their motivation because they're like, we're not going to win because the other 3 people aren't doing anything. So, yeah.
In the past too, we've had people buy into the fact that we're going to win it regardless. So I think they've bought into us being in the team. And I mean, a part of our strategy this time too is you don't need us to achieve this, but we can be there along the sidelines and coach you through and get you through, right? But we were just like, you know what, if you can all get your minimum points, we will smash the points. So we'll make sure it happens. And we know that we can enroll, right? We can do that. It's more about getting our people to do that. And so, you know, worst case, we're just going to be smashing the enrollments and you guys get your minimum and you're over the line, right? So they've bought into that. As well as, yeah, like Alan said, I think, you know, when we get going on things, we send out photos of previous derbies and talk about the different experiences. We've had pages in the past, but now we tend to stick with a messenger thread. And we all talk about different strategies that we're doing and ask for each other's support on, you know, certain posts or certain things that we're doing. So, and there is, of course, you know, the strategies throughout as well. So it just depends on the structure of what gets released, which we don't know yet. But, you know, with Body, for example, if Body is a points, then it's a no-brainer. I hope you guys are all, just in case, because based off previous ISA derbies, I hope you're all currently in an Body right now that you've started one. So anybody that's even considering being in an ISA derby, we're like, you need to be registered into an Body right now because it's going to finish during this derby period, and then you can rejoin, and that's an extra point. And they've counted that as points in the past. So it's also, we have conversations around how we get every single person we enroll to join the ISA body for those extra points. Even though it's like 1-2 extra points, it's 1-2 extra points. And we've seen our 4th team last year missed out by 1 point, right?
No, not that one of our teams knocked the other team out.
Yeah, so we're kind of sad.
Twice, Borneo and Las Vegas
too.
twice.
So,
Yeah.
every point counts. And it's the same with Healthy Mind and Body. If they're giving points for Healthy Mind and Body, right? How do we ensure that everybody joins Healthy Mind and Body? And so we'll have a strategy and a conversation around that, or even, this is what I'm sending people, or this is the conversation I'm having with people. And we're transparent on everything we do. And other people in the team duplicate that as well. And they show what they're doing. And we sort of, something's working, we're going to use it.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. And I find that interesting that you've let go of the pages and just a messenger thread. But I guess that's where you can keep energy really high and people can stay really connected in with that. So yeah, that's great. And just to clarify, when you were talking about ensuring that people are on track, do you base that off the minimum points?
We actually base it off higher.
Yeah.
So like our reality, or the reality in ANZ these days, is that if you had 6 people qualify on the bare minimum, based on the last 2 ISA derbies, your team wouldn't qualify. So in the past, 4 or 5 derbies ago, it was pretty much if you had 6 people qualify, you would be in. We hadn't seen up until, I think, last derby, or was it the derby before? I can't remember which one, but we hadn't seen any team have 6 people qualify and miss out before. Last ISA derby, we know 2 of our teams had 6 people qualify and both missed out. So from an individual point of view. So we always base it higher, and especially because life happens. So the last thing we want is somebody to hit, let's say for an example, they need to get, 30% of whatever is required by that cutoff date, then we'll always set it at 40 or 50%. The reality is that often somebody within your team will have something that takes them out for 1 or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whether it be sickness, a kid getting sick, whether it be, a holiday that they have, whether it be whatever. There's all sorts of life things that just occur, both good and bad, that take people out of the game. And what we don't want is somebody hitting the last week and just being under massive pressure and the whole team already being qualified.
Yeah.
And we try and make sure that we set our qualification as well, so everyone's qualified with at least 2 to 3 weeks to go, and then it's just about smashing out the last weeks to ensure that we lock down our position as well.
That's cool. That's amazing. And guys, with your keeping the team going and making sure they're hitting those targets, like that's cool. That's awesome. Even having it like almost having the due date, pushing it forward 2 to 3 weeks, that's cool. What do you do in that time, or how strict are you on, ticking off IPAs? Because quite clearly it comes down to IPA. Like, let's be honest, an ISA Derby is just like an all-out action plan for your business, which is incredible because it's enough to really launch it to that next level. What sort of, do you have particular targets that you want everybody to be reaching when it comes to those IPAs that are going to result in obviously your business growing, but also points in ISA Derby, like 3-way calls, like, having conversations, like, getting people, doing launch parties, all of that sort of stuff. Do you have targets for that, and how strict are you on it?
The biggest one that we have the targets around because no matter how we've seen, and you guys would have as well, ISA Derby come out with different rules just about every time. They release different rules. Yeah. Word on the street is they're changing it again this year, so it changes up again. However, the one constant that has remained with ISA Derby, and I have zero doubt it will remain, is that you need to enroll fast and hard in the first 4 weeks.
Yep.
And that's based on every single time, no matter what the point structure has been, how you do it. If you enroll hard early on, then you get more points because you have retention, you have people reordering, you have people that are sharing, and the majority of our points are generated from new people during the Derby. So our big goals are more focused around enrollments. So as an example, if we were setting a point structure for somebody and they hit those points but had 0 enrollments, then we would be massively concerned because they don't have new people that are going to generate them extra points towards the back end of the Derby when you really need them. And most of the ISA Derbies in reality are actually won I believe that they're won in the first 4 weeks. Doesn't mean you have to be in the top 10 in the first 4 weeks, but they're won in the first 4 weeks because you've set up the enrollments, your funnel is full, you're all in action. So that's the reality for us, is what we said around enrollments, and our goal is always to hit the minimum points with, you know, X amount of enrollments.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what structure they put out, it just works. It just works. You've just got to be enrolling. Like, we don't focus on creating consultants. We don't focus on anything else except for pure enrollments. Yeah. And we pretty much make our team commit to doing 3-way calls with us. Just get us on the phone with people. So, yeah. Did you want to add anything to that? No.
Brilliant. I love it.
It sounds too simple, right? First 4 weeks, just enroll. Forget about anything else, enroll. Don't think about duplicating. Don't think about anything else. Just enroll like crazy. Get people into the system. And then by the end of 4 weeks, your early people are closing in on their 30 days, and you can start really focusing and honing in on their duplicating and sharing. And your funnel's so full that the natural progression will still happen from follow-ups anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's so awesome. Thank you for that. I'm going to skip because I'm not even sure, and I should have checked where we were at. Did you have anything?
I wanted to touch on the one back near the start, which was obviously Rhea and I have been on a couple of these trips as well. So we know how incredible the journey is getting there, and obviously being on the trip, and how much it's changed our lives. But for everybody else on here who hasn't been on one, A, how is ISA Derby going to change their business? And B, how is going on one of these trips going to change their lives forever, to be honest?
I'm so with you on that. And, you know, for me, I'm not really big on the trip itself. Yeah, I'll enjoy it and great, but it's actually, if I had to choose between the journey to get there through the ISA Derby team and the actual trip itself, I'd go for the journey to get there through the ISA Journey team, watching people grow, watching people get out of their comfort zones, you know, all the different conversations and the action and, you know, what people are prepared to do to get out of their way, and the belief they suddenly have in themselves because they're in our team, or, you know, that is just so powerful in its own right. And when it's announced, actually, I said this to Alan even the last time, it's almost like it's a disappointment because now going off out, a lot of people, they just they shut down after Derby because they just went all out, and then they're like, okay, now it's time to have a rest. And I totally get it. You've got to take a rest and whatnot, but I just love the energy and I love everything leading up to it. It's just so powerful, and we have been figuring out over the last couple of ISA Derbies, how do we get people to keep that momentum going, to keep them going throughout, right, even without the incentives there. Anyway,
in the last two teams, the reality was in our first couple of teams, we got a lot of people, or probably 50% of the people just drop the ball. They just kind of burn out, and we drove them so hard within those derbies that they kind of dropped the ball. The first two were great because we were just having fun with them. The next two, we started getting a bit serious around it. And then the last couple, in particular, the Borneo one and the Las Vegas one, every single person that was in our team is still going super, super strong. They're some of the fastest growing people in our business and going really, really strong because we have actually focused in on not just the trip. Yes, we've painted the vision of the trip and what's possible, but we've really honed in throughout and continued to remind everyone that what they're doing now is a foundation to allow them to create the business that they so desire and the financial freedom they so desire as they build on it.
And what would be such a driving force then to, like, I know, Lari, you've talked about the journey, absolutely, love the energy. What about these trips that money actually really cannot buy, and the people that you get to meet and everything that's a part of that? Because there's a few people on here who haven't been a part of an ISA Derby, so just to give a little bit more around that would be amazing from you guys.
I love what you said, the people that you meet. Like that is hands down the best part. Don't get me wrong, and I suppose we've probably become it sounds not bad, but we've become a little bit immune to the 5-star treatment, but it's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, we still love it. We really appreciate it.
It's always the people.
You nailed it, Rhea.
We just went to Vanuatu last week, and everyone's like, "What's your best bit?" And it's always the people.
The relationships.
You know? Like, even actually, like when we lived in Japan, it's like, what do you love about Japan? I love the people more than anything, right? So
the people that you meet,
the conversations that you have, and I think, you know, that helps you build your business.
You find more people that are in the same kind of situation as you are, whether that be, you know, you're on fire and you hit Derby and you go to Derby on fire, or your business has dropped after Derby, or whatever it happens to be. You always find people that are going to be able to give you guidance and help, and you're surrounded by 80 people that have won an ISA Derby. They've all qualified, so they're all in action. They're all fired up. They've all got different things they're doing. So to me, that's the number one thing. For those that haven't experienced a trip, and you know what, we have those people as well. It's 5-star all the way. Like when we went to Las Vegas, you're staying in the Venetian, just amazing, beautiful suites. You have your dinners.
You've got something different on your pillow every night.
So beautiful coming back every day, and you've got a little
something
surprise.
Individualized, like, you know, pajamas with your name on the pocket, and like
We've had all sorts of random stuff.
Everything. They really do, like right down to the small things, you know, strawberries coated in chocolate and champagne, and everywhere you go, they've got little things up their sleeves. Like from the moment you get off the airplane, they've got e-shots and bars like immediately for you, and they really have thought of everything, you know, and stretched limousines to take you places, and champagne along the way, of course, and then, you know, relaxing spa treatments. They've got everything.
There's so much different stuff that we've had on them, and they're amazing. Truly, truly amazing. That's what you're after, if you're after the indulgence, it's
amazing. Awesome. 5-course meals, shows, everything, right?
Yeah, we've done a whole bunch of different things over the Derbies, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
They've come up with some crazy idea for parties and things like that I want to duplicate one day. Like really cool stuff, actually. And
as awesome as that is, just painting that picture for you guys, because that's something that does drive people. We've got people in our team that drives them. They're like, I just want a 5-star holiday. I've never been on one. I've never experienced that. I'm going after that. And that's awesome.
And we couldn't have dreamt up like a holiday like that. Like that's the thing, right? We'd never, when we book a holiday, we don't really think of all those things, and have people meet you along the way and take you through all the different experiences. It's quite phenomenal what they actually organise for you. So better than any travel agency even.
And he's saying that it's still the people though. It's you walk away, it's the people that you love the most. Obviously we've been on 2 ISA Derbies with you guys. So you just meet different people and you create relationships that you can later leverage, that you can finish up asking people to be on calls, and instantly they just say yes, because you've actually got a genuine relationship, because you've been able to, have a conversation in person or get to know them that little bit better as well. So from a leverage from a business point of view, it's
I'm
great
thinking Nashville, I'm thinking some kind of music celebration, for sure, right? And then obviously you've got your free time as well, just to explore. I mean, who's been to Celebration in America, USA? A few people have been. Imagine you've been to all Australian Celebration, have you? Or Australian? Yeah, the Australian one, it's like that times 10 on steroids. It's amazing. It's ginormous and phenomenal. You know, we had Tony Robbins last year, and then they had what's their name? Maroon 5, the band, the year before. There's always something.
Be interesting to see what they do this year.
Famous people, your television stars, presenting, and
we've got a little bit of country music.
It's pretty cool, and actually even being amongst the Aussie New Zealand crowd is really cool as well, because we've got amazing DJ. I love their DJ every year. He's awesome.
DJ Schematics.
He's the same.
Anyway, it's cool. It's cool.
It's really awesome. Cool.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And it's so true though. Like you do walk away, and you're absolutely right with the whole travel agent thing, because no travel agent would think of every last little detail throughout your entire day, and to be there with just the most incredible like-minded people who have got there as well. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
And I'd love to see the bill from the Bellagio 2 years ago from the VIP party that we got to go to. It would have been that nobody could afford that. Let's just put it like that.
Totally next level.
Wouldn't you love to have a party like that, to throw a party like that?
That was awesome.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
No, we went home early. We were a one-hit wonder, weren't we?
Well, early enough.
Yeah, Lovey hadn't slept for 2 days by that stage. So, it was amazing. Now, on the back of that, so there's all these incredible things that go on. But one thing that we did want to address, and one thing that was brought up by one of our team, was any challenges that come up and how you deal with them. And one that I'd like to tie in that was actually linked into another question was even with all this success and everything that's on the line, because there's a lot, and some people can, you know, get in their head about it and not want to let you down. And particularly you guys, you must experience this, like 7 out of 7. It's like, you know, you'd have people going, yeah, that's awesome, I want it, but don't want to let you down, or don't want to let the team down, or, you know, or any other challenges. Would you guys like to share something around that that may have come up that you've overcome?
I think the biggest challenge is, like, it really is, if you deal with them at the start, if you anticipate what the challenges are going to be. I mean, obviously there's random things that do still pop up, a relationship breaks down or whatever within somebody within your team. I think the biggest thing is just anticipating and knowing that you are going to have some challenges. And the biggest challenges that we find are people that are saying that they want to go all in, but their actions aren't matching it. That's probably the number one, where they're like, put me in a team, I'm ready, I'm fired up. And we're like, you know what? That's awesome. We'll make sure you're in an awesome team, but you've got to have some awesome points on the board. You put some awesome points on the board, I'll guarantee you that you'll be able to slot into the team. There'll be teams out there that are raising their hand, crying out for you if you've got points on the board. So don't just tell us that you're fired up now when you haven't done anything for the last 2 years. Let's be really real about it. Put it in your actions, and absolutely, we'll get you into a team.
So it's honest, open communication as well. I don't feel like we really do have, even with the person that didn't qualify, I felt like we had such open communication going with each person in the team. And it's only, you know, 6 people, right? Or their partners as well, maybe 12, that you're really dealing with. If you're having those honest, open communications, it's not really, there's no real challenge there. Do you know? I mean, there is in having the conversation. Sometimes it's not easy to have those conversations, and the conversations get harder and harder. Trust me on that.
If anyone wondering what Lari's doing, she's destroying a pen at the same time.
Oh, I'm a fiddler. I'm just talking at the same time as fiddling with the pen. I was using Holly's school pen. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, but I think that's key, right? So
It is, yeah, 100%.
Acknowledging that, you know, this is a real business, and in real businesses we have challenges, and potential things are going to come up.
Yeah.
Like he suggested, and also having open, honest communication with every person in the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just hands down it. I think you overcome every objection if you have that. The other one probably is more around the teams that you have people in that you know are not going to qualify. Like, the reality is when registration closes, there are some teams that you know are not going to qualify. It's just making sure that they're on that right mindset, that they're not being disempowered by other people in the team, that they're actually doing it as a learning experience and to grow their business, and they're just using the formula. Because the reality is, if you use the formula of every single derby that's been, you would have grown your business in a highly successful way. So that's probably the only other challenge, is the people that then finish up in a team. They still want to be part of a team, but they're not all in yet. They're kind of still working their way through, just making sure that you're upfront about what their expectations are, that you're not painting this vision of, like, come on, man, if you smash this out, you'll be able to get to Nashville. It's like, well, the reality is that you're probably not. However, if you follow it, do you know what I mean? Like, so many people are, I think we see that if we want to correlate it, it's probably kills more people in network marketing than anything else is expectation. So many people have this expectation and they write it down. It's like, you know what, I'm brand new in this business and I'm going to be a 4-star exec in 6 months' time. And the natural thing as a leader is you don't want to shoot somebody down, right? So you naturally go, yeah, that's awesome. You know, you're going to put a lot of time and energy in, and you're trying to keep that high level of vision up. And then in 6 months' time, they're a manager, they're cycling 2 times a week, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. However, for them, it's like, that's a massive failure. Like, they have absolutely failed at this miserably. And because they feel like a failure, this doesn't work. They then associate with network marketing negatively, and they're out. And it's the same with derby. If you get people that are in a derby and they have a massive failure compared to what their expectation was, every time derby comes around, it brings up this negative feeling, and they're like, no, I don't want to be part of that. So they don't even follow the system to grow their business. And it kind of, does that make sense? So it kind of creates this negative field. So it's so important at the start to have the real conversation with the person. And that real conversation can be like, you know what? based on your last 6 months, you couldn't qualify for a derby. You've enrolled 4 people. You've had one person go consultant, and you only order 100 BV every month yourself anyway. The reality is right now you would not qualify for a derby. However, over the next 4 to 6 weeks before registration closes, if you light it up and you turn it on, absolutely anyone will be sticking their hand up to grab you in their team because you're on fire and you will be able to make it. But when they're not there, does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?
Of course, it makes 100% sense. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yep, love it.
We moving it.
No, all good.
The numbers don't lie either, right? So it's either that you've got the actions that you've got there. So if you go by the averages of how many people are they having an isogenics conversation with, how many new people are they having an isogenics conversation with, how many follow-ups are they doing in relation to isogenics? And if they're not enrolling off that, then we need to look at how they're actually doing it. And they're either confusing themselves, right?
Yeah, it's either one or the other. Their numbers aren't there, or there's something lacking in their communication style. So, and you have to improve on that. So, and that's where you can look at that when things aren't going the way that they're supposed to be going, right?
So true, so true. And I feel like that's a really strong message that's coming through the whole of this. It is just about being open and honest in those conversations. That you're right, the numbers don't lie. So it is just laying it out and looking at where it's going. And that was actually another question that was raised, which I feel does tie in with this. An interesting one, and I know you've kind of addressed it a little bit. You were talking about some execs who may have some, a runner under them and that whole area of sacrifice to put them into a whole team of runners. Then there's the question posed about when you are creating teams, because obviously once it's launched, details will come out. People will know how to register a team, or, how teams will be structured at that point. What do you suggest for people in terms of filling their team? Would you be better off sticking with a team who is your, financially linked team and your team or your downline, for the sake that, even if they are a sharer, they can, get amongst the energy, or, if the only other option is crossline, is that what you do to stay in a team where there's, 3 high vibers with you and then there's 3 high vibers, across there? Like, what do you suggest with that?
Great question.
I do think it's case by case, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at our teams in the past, when we've got linkage of businesses, there's pluses there, and then we've had times when everybody's in scattered kind of businesses. They've always been all in our business, right? As a top leader, we've been able to, plug enough people from our own team to be able to do that. And it's case by case, really, because
I think the goal for the person makes a difference too. I think if you're being real about it, like, let's say for an example, you guys have got somebody on here who's a leader who's got 1 runner and they're smashing it. The ideal would be that the leader's smashing it, the runner's smashing it, and then they combine up with 2 other people that are in the same situation. Or it might be with 1 other person who may have 3 runners. That would be the ideal. I think the reality is, if you decide, if your business is not flourishing enough to have 5 genuine runners, you've got to combine. Now, if you don't have that depth in your business yet, and you really want, to me, I would prefer to have 2 people go to Nashville and catch that vision along with us, and have combined up with another 2 people, than have had a team where 2 of us get past the qualification marks, but none of us go to Nashville, if that makes sense. Because you can still work with that other team, those other people, in another way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you hit that registration point, isn't it?
Well, we've had, Neens and Clark's a good example, right? They were in a team with some other people that were kind of orphaned in another team, and a few different things. I mean, they made it on the ISA Derby, and I think it was beneficial for all of them. And
that was Borneo.
Yeah, it was Borneo, actually. And
it was awesome.
Yeah, I think it can work either way. Ultimately, if you've got the people in your own team, then you want to do it in your own team. But if you don't have legitimate runners and people that are running for it, then I think you've got to
give your people up or combine up with them.
I wouldn't be just posting on ANZ Business and saying, "Hey, is anyone ready for a team?" or anything. No, I don't think that's the best way to be finding a team. I think you want to talk to other top leaders like your leaders, so you guys as leaders say, look, we've got this person, they're on this amount of points, and I'd be like trading them like they do in America with the pro sports. Like I really would. I'd be, totally going to bat for them for an awesome team if you've got those people. And try to get them in a team.
That's the reality. If anyone's smashing it, they can finish up in Nashville. It's hands down. You will get yourself into a team. So can you imagine if somebody was, let's say somebody was an orphan, not linked in with anybody, presumably not on this call because they're part of your team, and they were smashing it out in the first 4 weeks, and they posted on ANZ and said, hey guys, I'm on, let's say the qualification was 80 normally overall, and it's 3 weeks in, and they're like, hey guys, I'm on 70 points. I don't have a team to be a part of. Like, people are going to take him. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality, is that if you're smashing the points out.
I've just realised I've got to put my kids to bed. So good night, people. Sorry.
So much, Lari. You're amazing.
I think that's the reality of it, is as long as people are being very, very real about where they're at, their numbers.
Kiss Daddy.
Good night.
We're running a bit late because we got kicked out of our house and we put in as a resignation in 2 weeks' time, and then we found out that they're building another property on the place that we were about to move into, and so
no story, no problem. We found a better place.
We found a better place.
2 hours later.
It took us a bit of time, so that's why we're a little bit late. Sorry, guys.
Night.
So I think that's the real key, is just I would combine. Like, I don't think there's any issue at all in combining up. I wouldn't leave it as a team. I think you can work with those people in another way. And again, it doesn't make them feel guilty either. I think that's one thing. We just see too much of it. People feeling guilty. 3 people smash it out. 3 financially linked to struggling, and they feel guilty that they cost the people the chance to be in Nashville.
Yeah, totally. And I love that, because it does show the power of getting to Nashville, though. Like, that's where it's at. And if there are people who are capable of doing it, then why not link arms with others who are, really red hot and ready to go with that.
And we can back that up because we made it to Borneo with people not in our downline. So we've linked arms before we needed to, because some others weren't ready, and that was fine. And like you said, rather than putting that pressure on people that aren't ready and really burning them out and scaring them off, we made that decision to link arms. And I think one of the guys, Lockie's on here, he might have dropped off, but he was on just before that we went over with. So that was fine. We still got to go. And the other time we won a wild card, so we still ran hard ourselves. You should never, ever give up, because we just kept going, even though our team's points weren't there. We just kept going and got the wild card. So,
yeah. Awesome. And Al, just on that, like, you're talking a lot about, the messenger groups and this energy and like looking at the ISA Derby in sections. So month 1, enroll. Month 2, stabilize, retention, start getting them to share. Month 3, the retention start coming in, the rank advancements, and so on and so forth. What would you say, and this is the question from someone in the team as well, but an indication of what sort of work does that actually take? Like, because you're obviously, you and Lari are full-time, but I have no doubt that you're working with people who are part-time in this, have full-time jobs, but they're all out in their isogenics business, I would imagine. Can you give some sort of indication as to what does it actually take? Like, what, in terms of hours even?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the biggest thing is you've still got to be, and like, to me, it's one of those things where you've got to have, for that 12 weeks or 10 weeks, or I forget even how long it is. About 12 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll say 12. Yeah.
You've got to be willing to make the sacrifices, and particularly at nighttime. Like, we always find the people that, like, again, in our setup conversation, it's around what their actual what their real results currently have been and what needs to change. And that's probably a bigger point, is that if somebody's enrolled 20 people in the last month, then clearly they know how to enroll 20 people and how many hours and whatever that takes. If somebody's enrolled 5 people in the last month, then our conversation is you're going to have to do twice as much work to get 10 people per month to enroll over that. So it is a little bit individual. The other thing we do say is there's got to be sacrifices. So to me personally, if you're part-time, it would look like, coming home, if you've got kids, sorting the kids, getting the kids to bed, and then you'll spend the next 3 or 4 hours every single night knowing that you're not necessarily going to have the same time frame to watch a show or spend some time with a partner whatever it happens to be. You know, if the partner's in isogenics, awesome. If they're not, then it's painting a vision, because these days they offer the opportunity for partners to come along at a super, super massively discounted rate, which it never was in the past. So you've got that for them to be able to come along to Nashville with you. And if you've had the conversation around what you're trying to create or what you are creating, I think that's a key as well. So any of you guys that have partners, it's a big one that we see where people are taken out of the game because their partner's not on board. Have the conversation from the start. And if you're not willing to have that sacrifice, just don't do the derby. The last thing you want to do is create those issues within your own relationship. However, we usually find that most people will have that environmental chat with their partner, and the partner's really excited, because the fact of the matter is that they're excited when they're sharing and saying, hey, this is the opportunity I've got and I really want to do this. But what it's going to look like is the next 12 weeks from 8 till midnight, I'm going to be working on isogenics. Are you okay with that? It might be that you go, hey, on Friday nights, that'll be my one night where I'm not doing it, or whatever it happens to look like. But it needs to realistically be a greater sacrifice than what generally you'll find that most people are working at 70 or 80% of what their capacity is anyway. Probably less, probably 50% of what their capacity is. So,
yeah, no, thank you for shining light on that. That's really important, and it's very valid. And it does show, you know, where it's at and what it takes. So yeah, thank you for that, Al.
Past is always a great indicator, though, right? If people are not brand new, passes, if they've only enrolled 3 people in the last 3 months, something's got to change.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, and now would be the time to look at that and where the gaps are and what needs to happen for that. For sure. Look, a couple more, Al, because I do want to respect your time and finish the hour. But yeah, like obviously, as well as part of all of this, it can get hectic. Like if you're committing 4 hours a day as someone who's doing it part-time, like that nighttime sort of section, you know, there's the hustle and grind in that, like 12 weeks all out like that with that sort of commitment. You know, what sort of things do you do as a team? And yeah, like I suppose you and Lari have had your teams individually, and I know you've said you're going to sort of let this one go a little bit, so to speak. But do you do fun and energetic things within your team throughout, or all of your teams? Because you obviously have a number of teams entered and a number who typically win. Do you do like a week where you do something fun, or they're playing for something separate, or little challenges along the way? What are some ideas that you do for that?
Yeah, great question. So I'll give you last year for Las Vegas. And not everyone necessarily at this level is going to do that, or whatever it happens to be. Retention is big, right? So retention is a massive part of isoderby, no matter where you're at. In the last few weeks, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks to go, we were really encouraging all of our teams and all of our businesses to get as much retention happening in their business and have as many people reordering and all the rest of it. So Larry and I actually put up a prize to win a trip to Las Vegas. So we set in a Las Vegas party that was going to happen a week after the end of isoderby. We put up a trip for anybody in our entire organization to win a trip to Las Vegas based on 1 week. We had a blitz week where it was like, if you reordered during that week, you went into the draw. And based on how much BV you reordered with, depending on how many entries you got. And then you got entries for sharing as well. So in the end, we had such a massive response from it. We ended up doing it 2 weeks in a row. We gave 2 trips away to Las Vegas. And at the same time, we gave away like seasonal shake products and stuff. So it wasn't like just the one trip where people are going, I won't win that. So it was kind of like, oh, wow, I'd love to win that. But, if I don't, then I could still win these seasonal shakes or whatever different random USA products we had. So that was one strategy that we used that was highly successful, which I'm confident we'll use in some way, shape or form this time around as well. And it just really generated a great deal of momentum towards the end when every team needed it. They're following up. They've got people that joined in the first 30 days that are not reordering, and just encourage them to reorder. So that's one strategy we did. We always do a party at the end of it, which is obviously we're in Queensland, so not everyone can come, but we always do a party a week or two after.
We can come this year, Al.
More than welcome. You guys are so more than welcome. So, and we always base it around the theme of whatever it is. So Borneo, we had one. Vegas, we had one. So we're always doing something there where we just open it up. People could come around, have a great night. we always have in association some kind of blitz prize that we're drawing. So there's a reason and an excitement for other people that are not there to plug into a live on Facebook and stuff like that. So we're always using different little strategies to help people along the way as well. I think that's important. It keeps the energy high. People feel empowered that they've got something extra that other teams may not be thinking about or doing or utilizing. So yeah, that's proven really successful for us as well. Lars, back.
Hey, that was quick and easy. Straight down.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed. They'll bubble.
It's all good, guys, because I was just saying I did want to respect that time for you. It's getting late, and I did want to finish on the hour. But just to finish off, I think that was. Did you have any final? I thought I had one.
No, I was just going to congratulate these guys on winning their 8th ISA Derby, even though it hasn't started yet.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, just this is a side question just before I do finish. Because you were saying about this is about the fun and the energy. Do you guys have like a separate, like team Zoom, like Derby team Zoom, like on a weekly basis where everybody's invited to get together, all the teams as one? Like, is that a tactic that you use?
Not all the teams. We do them individually, teams.
We usually plug in as
updates
guests
what they're doing, and it gives people different ideas, and we jump on other people's ones as well. So if we've got like 6 Derby teams running, then we might be jumping on some of the other teams within our teams, jumping on their call every once in a while and breaking it down for them.
A strategy that we use as well, which will definitely help you guys, and I think it's great we've got, as an example, our Borneo team, to the point that they bonded so well because they were so supportive of each other, was anyone financially linked?
Rosie, Emma,
maybe one person was financially linked. No, they weren't. No. So we had 5 people that were all financially linked to us, but none of them were financially linked to any of the other people in the team. So they're at a point now where one of them's going to have their 40th in May. They're all like working out what they're going to do for their 40th. They're going to fly to Adelaide. They've created such an amazing bond. One of the things that actually did that and solidified that was we have a messenger thread going, which is we have a bit of banter in it and stuff like that. But more than anything, we have it as a support messenger. So what they do is, let's say for an example, and we've shared this in our trainings before as a more broad thing to do, but this was where you got 5 responses instant. Let's say in the early days, I'm talking to someone and they're concerned about drinking shakes. They're like, I don't know whether I'm going to like the flavour. I haven't stomached shakes in the past. Then what I'll do is I'll make a post in our cleanse page. Hey guys, just wanted to just see if there's other people in here that were concerned about having shakes before they started isogenics, concerned about the taste, if they could stomach them. Would love to hear from you guys. We would then message in the thread and say, hey guys, we've just made a post in the cleanse page around shakes. If you or anybody in your team has been in this situation, or you can throw any support or positivity in here, that'd be amazing. And all of a sudden you've got these people that are instantly, because there's a mutual agreement that they will act on it, they're instantly responding. And it's kind of like they become each other's massive support, and they become such good friends because they're always knowing that they've got each other's backs, and they create a trust and a bond instantly that they start, by the end of the Derby, it's like, we've got to get to celebrate, like we've got to qualify so we can go and celebrate together. We're all in different parts of, the last one we had was 5 different teams in 6 different states. So, 5 different states, sorry, because there was one other in Queensland. So that's kind of what we try and do within that messenger thread, and then have a bit of fun and banter within that as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's amazing. And you literally are like soldiers arm in arm going out to battle then, because you're not going to let anyone down with that. That's awesome.
And they all know they've got to buy in too. While it might not be financial, points still count, right? Like whatever's happening, whatever they're generating, that's going to the team getting to Nashville or wherever it happens to be. So they've got extra buy-in to be that third-party validation as well.
Of course. That's awesome. Guys, just to really wrap it up, like Lovey said, we know that you guys are going to be there. And so to make sure that everybody else who is on this call right now is going to be there beside you, we would love to hear one last golden nugget from each of you on what you feel would be the key to their success with this ISA Derby? What's the one thing, do you think?
Oh, you want me to go first?
I'll give you one thing. You
It's
can finish
always
it.
easy. I mean, it's you got to do it, but it's you're taking the actions, and it's specifically talking to people about isogenics and enrolling people, and then helping people get paid. That's all it is, and having open, honest communication with every single person you come in contact with, including the cleaner. You never know where anybody's going to lead you, but if you go and add value to all these people's lives, then you're going to find the right people. And it is just, having isogenics conversations.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Al?
I was going to say I'll leave you with two. I think Lari already touched, I think Lari summed it up with the open conversations. One is that your past numbers, you need to be very, very real with yourself and sit down and look at your own numbers. Don't go painting this picture of, oh, you know what, I'm just going to enroll more people this month. It's like, what are you going to do differently is the bigger question. So how many did you enroll last month? So you know what action you took, you know why you enrolled that many people. The numbers are the numbers, they don't lie. So if it's not enough to what's going to qualify for you for a derby, you need to ask yourself what's going to change. That's, I think, hands down the most important thing for a leader to do for their own numbers. And then I'm with Lari. I think just setting it up, it's all in the setup. Have an open communication with everybody. Be real with them. You come from a great place and you're going to be fine.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for that. I think that's it, Lover.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, guys, you're always so generous with your time. Even on the trips, we pick your brain all the time, even though we kind of, we're there anyway and we'd won one, we still love to pick your brain to be able to filter that back into everybody else to get that chance. So we're always forever grateful for all your knowledge, that you're always open. Technically we're in competition with you guys, but you're always open to share that with everybody. So, we always take it on board, and we know that everybody will tonight, and it's obviously being recorded, so no doubt plenty of people. We won't leak this too far.
Hey, you know what? It's all good because you know what? As the bar raises for everyone, right?
That's what
So it's all good. If the bar raises again, we got to raise our game, and that's
we
awesome.
want Australia or New Zealand on fire because that's when everybody's joining. I mean, it truly is co-opetition. It's not competition at all. And the more lovers of isogenics there are.
If we miss a derby, then it means that Australia and New Zealand is absolutely on fire. So
let's knock them out, guys.
I love it.
Love it.
Thank you again so much. Unmute, guys. Give them some love in the chat. Let's give them an almighty cheer right now if you can all unmute.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks,
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. That was awesome.
Thanks, legends. Good to see you.
More than welcome, guys. Good luck with it.
Thanks so much.
See you in Nashville.
See you guys.
See you in Nashville.
Definitely. See you guys. I look forward to meeting a couple of things as well.
Yeah.